Seems to be a little bit more windy than expected right now. Ah, well, what really can you do? All I'm going to tell you is, welcome to another episode of the Wandering Yuki Cheese Cafe. So as I'm recording this right now, I am a few days away from the end of my actual vacation, and as bittersweet as it is a part of reality. Got to get back to work eventually to pay the bills, and had a crowd of people just waving at me, despite the fact that the camera's pointing at me, not them. But regardless, this seems to be one of the better web pages. It's going to be one of the next big spots. I figured there's no way I can't go down like another big flat wander. I kind of want to go to the southwest because I spent a lot of time along the plateau and Rosemont for my latest episodes. Of course, those are all going to be along the, shorts I've recorded. You're going to see a lot of those though on the YouTube channel. I didn't do as many of the major episodes, or at least if I did, they're going to be coming up later on. But still plenty to do, still a lot to see. And while we continue on this one, I'm going to give you one suggestion. Hit that subscribe button below and put your notification bell on. That way, if there's a new video ready to view, you'll get a pop-up that is ready on your phone. And give me a thumbs up while you're at it too, because the more likes I get on YouTube, the more the channel is promoted, so that helps me out a lot more than you think.
From the blackest room, I was torn, you called my name, our love was born, so I believe.
I've covered this point a lot on my channels over the last little while, but it bears repeating once again. The southwest part of Montreal, I have some vague recollections of visiting there on my own over the years. Griffintown, passed by on occasion. Wellington on Verdun is the place I knew the most because we always used to check out video game stores that were around the area. And this was before I was getting to know all the coffee shops, restaurants, and bars in the city. But Pointe Saint-Charles, among the very first times I documented that area was last year when I did a video on my dad, but especially last summer when I was doing a video of my wander around there to the Memento brewery, exploring Café Causé, and also Brassa de Montreal. If you want to see that one again, then I'm going to put a card in the top right corner for you to watch that and see the very first time I went in that area. Or at least one of the first times I did a drink around there. Now somewhere within the heart of Griffintown, I can see that there's been a lot of change over the decades where you got a lot of new condo complexes that are being built, but then you still got some buildings where they're keeping traces of back when this used to be a very industrial area. So they keep some of the facades, preserve like an old fire station, brewery, like there's a whole bunch of stuff here. And I know that there's a lot more history I could dig into, but the thing is, for my style, I'm not necessarily a historian. I always just try to look at the basic concept and in my case try to tie it into something that's kind of close to my family's story from when they came to Canada. But there's always some nice stuff to discover around the city if you're kind of in a historical mood or you like to look at the preservation from the past. I love it and I dig it. It's probably a big reason why I enjoy visiting Europe, because compared to Montreal, that is ancient. Montreal's still a relatively young city, despite the fact it's like 500-600 years old, and there's a lot more to see. But speaking of things to see, I am getting kind of thirsty, and I feel like I could use a good booster before I continue on my walk. Now, where can I find a good coffee shop without having to maneuver the construction zones? It's one of these kind of cafes where they got some glass of wine you can have, or there's even some liquors, which meant if I wanted to, technically I could get some whiskey in my coffee. But if I do a whiskey, I would have to say that for later as a finisher, because I like to have my whiskey straight, not necessarily mixed in as a cocktail, but I do have some exceptions. Now, I finally got to check out the Petit Dep that's in Griffintown. I can say that the one in Mile End has served me pretty well because I'm in such close proximity to Dieu du Ciel and Cibois bars. I'm able to stop up there for a coffee on the way home in case I feel like I need that. I've also been to both of the locations that are around Old Montreal. Those are kind of quaint, very nice too, with a lot of old decor, and they all have the very similar style of a shade, lampshade that is. But I honestly find that this location here is the most elaborate one, like it's the most spacious one, which I guess it kind of makes sense because you do have a lot of office buildings that are around here, so you're probably also serving a couple of workers, people who are working a 9 to 5 like me. Yeah, because I am a 9 to 5 guy. It's just that on vacation and when I'm not in the office, I'm always going to be wandering about, so it may not always be obvious. Some people think I look more artsy than business-minded, but you never know with some people. All this to say, I like the look of this place, and a great way to get myself a nice cold Americano here. I forgot to ask for milk in this one, but hey, it is what it is, and if anything, the ice cubes in here are going to water it down even further once I'm ready to continue the wander. I did see over there in the cold drinks section, they also have some beers available, so it's one of those type of spots. Come here, you can have a beer, a glass of wine, some liquor in your coffee, or maybe just straight, or maybe mix a cocktail. I'm seeing a couple of these types of cafes around here more often, like more so than what I have around my neighborhood. And of course, if you go to Europe, this thing is a pretty common occurrence. And if I was to look up here too at the same time, you got some of the old structure looks like it's been preserved. I don't know what historically this would have been back in the day, but I don't know. I'm digging it. It's like very rustic. I guess in some ways you could say it looks steampunk. I don't know. I'm getting my terminology wrong. But I was just looking at the beer cans. Thought I'd point that out because some of the artwork on those cans are awesome. You want to find anything you can do to keep those beer cans intact, right? Like playing bowling with beer cans, but could be worse. Could be like doing a chandelier out of the beer cans.
Here we go, money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, 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 dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, cut the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking don't matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling, patent pockets. You take the dollar, dollar, can a damn soul stop it. Here comes the new kid on the block. Hold on your bets, here's where the buck stops. See, first of all, I'm stepping out on my own. About time I elevated to claim my own throne. Success in my blood, call it homegrown. Puerto Rican testosterone. Power and money got me crazy cocky. No longer need you, Poppy. I know you're mad because you can't stop me. And if you wonder how this
You know, I forgot to point out while sitting at the Petit Dep is that it was pretty appropriate that I was sitting over there because the first time I documented the old Montreal one near Place d'Armes was when I did an episode. I walked from there into Pointe Saint-Charles to have a few brews, and I'm on the bridge that takes me directly across the Lachine Canal from Griffintown into the Pointe. If you want to see that episode that I recorded back in like January, February earlier this year, then go click on the link at the top. So, to give you an idea where I am once again, on the bridge, I've got the Lachine Canal over here that divides the two parts of Montreal I just described, and right above me here is the REM track. Now these are the tracks for the Montreal light rail system that goes from Brossard into downtown Montreal for now until they get the new stations all built and operational. But I do ride that almost every time that I do a wander in town or if I'm going to my actual job at the office. So I'm kind of familiar with it. And combination of train and the guy speeding. Like, am I going to get that on post-production? Regardless. Some people say that the REM is pretty noisy, but honestly, if you're living within the downtown core or close to it, what else do you expect with city life? speaking of having brews in Pointe Saint-Charles the last time, this is actually one of the spots I went to for Origins. A buddy of mine told me about it because he used to DJ here a lot, and this was actually way before the pandemic and before I knew a thing or two about all the districts of Montreal. It's great, they make it on the spot, and they even have some interesting arcade or pinball machines in there. I saw a James Bond Dr. No one. That's original, then that was released back in 1962 or 63, I believe, so that's been an eternity. And since I am in the Point, I am kind of feeling nostalgic, and I'm going to pass by one street in particular. You've been following me for the last year and a half, you probably know which one. The Northern Electric Building. There's not too much going on. I think there's some office buildings, probably some condo developments, but the reason I'm going to this is because I'm very close to Richardson Street that, as I mentioned before on some of my past videos, that's the street that my grandparents had moved to when they first came to Montreal and where they were living when my dad was born. So whenever I hear about these kind of things of my family, about where they were living at the time, also finding out that certain streets that I've walked by countless times, turns out there's a little connection. I love that. Just like piecing together all these little bits of the history and give me some warmth whenever I walk by certain areas, because then it makes me think this is where it all started.
Give me a ticket for an aeroplane. Ain't got time to take a fast train. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter. I don't care how much money I gotta spend. Got to get back to my baby again. Lonely days are gone, I'm a-going home. My baby just wrote me a letter.
Yeah, I kind of got lost in nostalgia for a little bit. Once again, get the little warm thought whenever I walk down that street, knowing the family's a connection to me, and think back to good times or times that are long gone. Now I'm on Rue du Centre, so this is like the main street of Pointe Saint-Charles, and I have covered around here before, but there isn't actually another Ukrainian connection I might have talked about, and what the hey, let's show it off once again. This church, well, the style is very familiar to me just because I am kind of born Ukrainian, but it's a Ukrainian Catholic church, the Holy Ghost Parish. You may not know this, but there was a Ukrainian community here in the early 1920s, along with the Polish community. You probably also had the French community, Irish community, well, especially Irish because Griffintown and Pointe Saint-Charles is considered the Irish, like the center of Irish heritage in Montreal, especially since in the Point, as they call Pointe Saint-Charles, you got a lot of streets that are named after like Irish stuff, like I think you got Emerald Street, you got St. Patrick and Dublin Street, among other ones. But this is like one thing that's still standing to this day from back then with the Ukrainian community, except whenever I think the Ukrainians, I'm always thinking in Rosemont, around the East End. And the reason is that after World War II, a lot of Ukrainians have moved into Canada, and I guess as time went on, they needed a bigger place of worship because of the growing community. So somehow they made their way into the East End. So somewhere around Beaubien Street East and Saint-Michel Boulevard. And the way you know is that there's a park called Ukraine Park, or Parc de l'Ukraine as they say in French. There was a Ukrainian credit union. Now there's like a Desjardins that serves the Ukraine community. You got two churches, the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is where I had my baptism and my communion at, and also the St. Sophie's Orthodox Cathedral. That one is probably one of the most elaborate ones. So yeah, that's what I always think about when I think of the Ukrainian community. Well, that's my nostalgic part of Pointe Saint-Charles, or at least staying connected to the extended family. It's still pretty bright out here and still relatively early in the day. And I think if you know my routine by now, it's around this time that I'll probably be getting a brew for myself. And come to think of it, there is one I can pay a visit to that I haven't visited since last year. At least I don't think I've visited since last year. And it's right by the Lachine Canal too, so it means if I'm lucky enough to get a terrace, I'm gonna do that. And I think, you know what, I convinced myself, I'm gonna head there. Master or servant? I guess it depends if you have a can of beer or a glass of beer. Which one is the master? Which one is the servant? And oh wait, that's a Depeche Mode reference, is it? Okay, hit it. Well, what can I say? Came up in Pointe Saint-Charles, and just like last year on my vacation when I came around here, I had to stop off at Memento once again. As far as I could tell, I only came here twice last year. Once in that summertime, and then the first time was when I did that episode on my dad and all the areas he lived around in Montreal, which also covered Richardson Street like I was pointing out before. So funny to think that this spot hasn't been around for too long, like only a handful of years. So it's funny how a lot of these microbreweries have come up relatively recently. Not like something like Ben Good, where they've been around since 1988 and like one of the few independent breweries. This spot is nice. I'm actually right by a bike path that's just across from the Lachine Canal, and I can see some tents that are right across in the Griffintown part of it. So it seems kind of awesome. And this is actually where I had a shrimp gaidi, and one of the first instances I had some fries with some Parmesan and truffle in it. So it's a kind of a nice place, great for food and great brews. And speaking of which, I do have one that I'm working on right now. So it's not that blinky one that I had the last time that almost felt like it was a dedication to Pac-Man ghosts. It's called, oops, I'm just gonna get this up. So what I got here is the Memento Double New England IPA. So it's actually one of the stronger beers I've had in a little while, because this fucker is like a good 7.8%, but you know me, I like New England IPAs. I like the combination of hoppiness and the citrus flavor because of the hops, and I think I also got it because it has a whole bunch of other hops I've seen. Like Nelson Sauvin I've seen countless times, Galaxy, well actually I'm not sure exactly what that implies, Vic's Secret hops, which if I'm going to be cheesy, whenever I see Vic's Secret I think, okay, I'll be a lingerie model one of these days, and something called Idaho 7. I still got to put together a little documentary or maybe like a little list of what all these hops imply, but you know what? I think right now we're not going to think too hard, we're just going to think, how does this taste? You can definitely taste the strength in here. It's definitely very fruity, but once again, I'll have to do my research on all the hops. Nelson Sauvin, I already know. Idaho, well, who knows? All I could say is, it's beautiful. Private Idaho. Okay, I guess someone's saying I'm gonna sing for the B-52s, if you could call that singing for that matter.
You're living in your own private Idaho. Living in your own private Idaho.
Underground like a wild potato.
Don't go on the patio.
You know, it's that time of the year that you might have some really warm, humid days, but also days like this where you're gonna get some overcast and a little bit of a cool breeze. Of course, this is probably a case of I'm right by the canal, so I'm getting the waterside breeze that's very refreshing. But I'm digging the vibe so far, just like I'm digging this brew. Which, by the way, I'm actually taking my time with because I have to correct myself. It was really a 7.8% or so. It's definitely a bit of the stronger fucker than I anticipated. It's almost close to, I would say it's close to a Feu de Joie if you're getting something from West Shepherd, which, by the way, I have covered before. Maybe not West Shepherd directly, but there's a place in Verdun called Verdun Social that has the West Shepherd brews. It's really good stuff over there, and if you want to see that episode, I'll just put a link in the top right corner, because I did pay it a visit like at least a year ago. Well, I did a walk from Goplana up to Wellington Street. Now, I do have to think also that I am at a microbrewery that's technically a hop and a skip away from where my grandparents are living, where my dad was born. So, again, warm feelings with that. But I do have to wonder that if this had been around, if they were still here, if my dad was still here, would they have enjoyed the microbrewery scene? Or would they have scoffed at it and just went for their usual stuff? Because remember, your typical dad beer or granddad beer, it's going to be like a Coors Light, the Molson X, Pabst Blue Ribbon, maybe Old Milwaukee, Wildcat, probably Carling Black Label, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other ones that I'm forgetting about, but that's pretty much their style, where it's going to be the regular, the light, and the dry. I feel like there's a Simpsons joke somewhere in there. Yep, that's right, that's the one. But who knows? I think it all depends on where you're from or what you're used to. Because I have some friends that are close to his age that love all the new types of beers that are on the market. Other ones stick to the classics of what they know. But I think I'm rambling again. I should just finish this off and then think about what I'm going to be doing next. Spoiler, probably Verdun, because it's within walking distance from here, and also gives me some time to digest this fucker. Never sure if this mic is going to pick up a lot of the truck and the vehicle sounds, but I guess I'll figure that out once I get into post-production of this. Nevertheless, that was a good brew. Nice, strong one, like stronger than what I've had during my time on vacation, but I'm definitely going to want to come back here again. It's not like around the Plateau or Rosemont where I've covered countless times and I always have my usual spots. This one, as much as I like it, I don't know why I don't come here. But maybe one of these days I'll come visit a few more times for some shorts and more videos. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to keep walking along St. Patrick Street until I get to Charlevoix. Because Charlevoix, well, main point of reference for that is Charlevoix is also the location of Goplana Cafe, the Polish bakery, pierogi place, which I already talked about. But if I continue south along that, eventually I'll hit Wellington, and then that means I can get into Verdun pretty easily. Here we are. I've made my way onto Wellington in Verdun at last. You know, it's pedestrian only now, and as much as I've loved this street ever since I started revisiting it for new bars and restaurants, it's kind of surprising that I haven't made as many return visits this year compared to my last episode that I recorded. Oh yeah, I remember that one. That was the Return to Verdun one, where I got to showcase some of the other drinking holes that I like to frequent. If you want to see that episode 2, then you know what to do. The card's on the top right corner to watch that one. And I'm looking around thinking, where am I going to eat? I am kind of craving a good plate of fries because I haven't had too much of those. It's not something I do very often because they are kind of heavy and try to be mindful of my diet, but once in a while, you got to treat yourself. I do feel like that I could get those over at either that Betty's or I could go to Verdun Social, like I was thinking about earlier. Okay, I think I convinced myself. Verdun Social, it shall be.
Summer.
Sure is getting kind of cloudy right now. I know that my phone is telling me that if I get to 6 p.m., it's going to be a chance of rain happening around the city. But honestly, I'm at a point where I'm going to believe it when it does happen. It could happen, but this time of the year, the weather is so sporadic. It's going to say sunny all day, and then next thing you know, an hour before you punch out of work, it's going to start raining, and then shit all over your barbecue plans. So I'll just enjoy what I can over here while I still have some clear skies. Overcast, well, not much I can really do about it. But anyways, Social Verdun. I've covered this spot before. I've given you the links. I really like the brew menu that's over here because most of what they got on tap is going to be West Shefford. That one I know because it's a combination of, well, no, that's not true. Like, the brewery is located in Bromo, but there's also a pub that's located around the Plateau Montreal on Mount Royal Avenue. And a lot of places I've been to serve this on tap as well, so you never know where you're going to get it from. But I decided I'm not going to be doing a West Shefford brew. I'm doing something completely different, a 50. And I know what you're thinking, Labatt 50? Not exactly today. It's actually the 50 cream ale from the Dispensaire or Dispensary microbrewery. So if you were to look at the can, they do have two 25-cent coins that make you think Labatt 50, but there's another meaning to this, or actually a couple of them. I got wasps flying around. 'Tis the season. So, cream ales, I keep forgetting like how they make them, but they're very refreshing. Like the finish of that is just plain awesome. But the other thing I was thinking about is that this brewery, Dispensaire, is located on Prince Arthur Street East, just east of Saint Laurent Boulevard. And I've been there before a few times, but the big time I ever covered that was last year, around the same time on my vacation when I was doing a trip around the city, trying to find all of my grandmother's old apartments, find out where my mom was born, and just exploring parts of Holzbold that I was familiar with as memories of her. If you want to see that episode, then I'm going to put a card for you on the top right corner to revisit it. It's a nice long one, sentimental too, but you know, when I think of this one, I thought I want to think back to the family, and given the fact that I am having something called 50, and my dad was a Labatt 50 guy, I guess you could say it's multi-layered. And the finish on this is just plain refreshing. Yeah, I'm glad I came here because it seems like it's one of those that's on rotation from time to time, and this is a new addition. I'm happy. Still pretty refreshing. So in case you're wondering about the change of scenery, turns out that it's starting to rain outside, and I don't want to be sitting on a terrace while getting soaked because I don't know just how heavy the rain is supposed to be. As I'm recording this, I'm told that tomorrow is supposed to be a massive storm, but again, I'll believe it when I see it. I just know that today is one of the more decent weather, one of the more decent days for weather, so I didn't want to document it before I had to go back to work. But as far as I can tell, I haven't really shown off the interior of this place, you know, in the past in a full vlog. Maybe a couple of seconds I'm doing a transition, but I don't know. It's a good chance to at least give this a shot. But once again, this cream ale is very refreshing. I don't buy too many cream ales to tell you the truth, but the ones I have had, I love them. And to tell you the truth, there's actually one or two of them I would want to show off next time I'm doing a cooking show or maybe a barbecue before the season ends. All that said, I am starting to get a little bit hungry, and I kind of want to get those fries I was talking about, and I kind of have an idea what I'd like to get on the menu today. Let's just see if it's served with fries. Hopefully. There we go. Food has arrived at last. So what I decided to get for myself is the barbecue chicken sandwich, which I've had here before, but I never documented on the channel before, so it kind of looks like this. And the good news is that it does come with the fries I was so desperately craving today. But it seems like what they do is that they take some chicken, pull it apart, add it with some like a hamburger hamburger bun, coleslaw, like a very basic sandwich, but it's awesome. But if it's anything like what I think it is, pulled chicken is like pulled pork. Very straightforward. So what you gotta do is, the right way to make that at home, if you're gonna be doing it yourself, is put it in a slow cooker, or cook it for a long time, like several hours on a very low temperature. That way it cooks, but then it doesn't evaporate all the juice in it, so it's gonna be really tender. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a fork or two and then just pull it apart until you make it into little shreds. That stuff is awesome. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have the fries because, like I said, I've been desperate for these. So these fries are awesome. But the big test is going to be the taste test of this sandwich. Oop, lost some meat. Yep, it's just as good as I remembered it. It's like barbecue seasoning. It's a little bit like barbecue pulled pork or barbecue pulled chicken. So that stuff is pretty awesome, tender, and it's so like versatile. You can put it in sandwiches, you can have it on its own, you can put it on rice, and then you're good. Oh yeah, you probably wonder what I'm having right now. The truth is, it was, I wasn't sure if I want to have another pint over here or save it for another place elsewhere, but I thought, you know what, fuck it. I'm on vacation still and want to enjoy a good meal, so I went for one of the West Shepherds that's on a happy hour sale. It's called Sept Socle, but it's their typical blonde beer, like a good 4.1%. I did actually have this one a little while back, like I would say, yes, episode 199 when I was going from Brossard to Saint-Henri, and I had this pint over at Le Drinkerie on Notre Dame. If you want to see that episode, then you can click on the link on the top right corner to revisit it. And that's just what I needed today, man.
It's been a long time coming. It's going to be a long time gone.
Not a bad run I had over here, and I think I still have some time for one final ration. And wait, it's getting kind of cloudy again. I guess it's going to be raining right now. You know, today they said chance of rain, sunshine, but it could always give you a swerve. You never know what the weather's going to hold. It's a bit like, what's that expression I'm thinking about again? It's not working. I feel like I got that trophy a while back, but yeah, I said it back then, I'll say it again. I'm trying to take life lessons from Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. I don't know how smart that is.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door, ready to make an entrance, so back on up.
Cause you know we're about to rip shit up.
Give me the microphone first so I can bust like a bubble. Compton and Long Beach together, now you know you in trouble. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. Too low out niggas, so we're crazy. Death Row is the label that pays me. Funky stuff. It's like this and like that and like this and it's like that and like this and like that and it's like this and like that and like this and Drake creep to the mic like a fan.
Well, I'm peeping and I'm creeping and I'm creeping, but I damn near got caught cause my beeper couldn't.
Unbelievable. I took a place on a terrace because I was getting some clear skies and sunshine when I was finishing up at the Verdun Social. Ended up at La Palco, and now I'm getting some light drizzle once again. But you know what? Fuck it. I'm not even going to complain about it too much because I'm kind of digging the show that's happening right beside me. So, like, once again, this part of Wellington is going to be pedestrian only, so there's a lot of shows going on and, you know, other outdoor activities, and I'm getting some kind of a jazz trio playing right now. Just before that, they were playing some Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven to be precise, and, you know, I had a soft spot for that because I always feel like after hearing that song, that's what kind of got me into the music nerd phase I've become to this day. All because of my buddy, I think, Bluesman84 in the comments section. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, man. That is your username, right? But this spot, I did visit on my last run on Verdun in a vlog, and unlike that last time, where I might have got a Pabst Blue Ribbon, I'm going for something a little bit more high quality. And this is the Unibrew New England IPA. It's relatively new on the market. It's amazing. It's like, you know, my style. And also, the first time I had it on tap on camera was episode 201. Yes, 201, when I was doing a trip around Griffintown, and I had it over at Maison de Clusier. So if you want to see episode, I'm going to put a card in the top right corner, or hope that I can have a card in the top right corner, because you only have 5 cards on YouTube. That's a rambling way to say, here's to the final round. Now that's delicious. Fruity, hoppy, kind of strong. And it's also going to be a perfect closer before I hit the road.
Raindrops keep falling on my head, and just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling.
Well, good thing I came inside to one of my usual spots in here, because the drizzle became some heavy winds and some rain, and I thought, I don't want to get drenched in that while I'm over here for a drink, so I may as well take shelter. And the good news is that I'm not with a group of people, and I'm okay sitting alone at a bar, so this is going to be the next best thing to do while I'm finishing off this New England IPA. Yeah, I remember documenting this like winter earlier this year for the first time, but I had come here in the past with an old friend, or we're trying to introduce ourselves to some of the new bars that are around Wellington, Verdun in general, and this has to be a good spot. And one thing that does kind of amuse me is that it's one of the only places I know that has Pabst Blue Ribbon on tap, because that's one beer that you really don't see very often. Like you can get your Labatt, you get your Molson, Labatt Blue, that I don't think I've ever seen on tap. But there's like certain kinds of grandpa, dad beers that nobody seems to serve anymore, unless you're to go order them in a bottle, or if you're to get them like in a can. I don't know. I'm not going to think too hard about it. All I'm going to say is that it's a good final round for myself. Well, I was enjoying some of the sights and sounds of the area, and then make my way back home. The one thing I'm wondering is that maybe I should go find a place to get a coffee, if I can. The trick is trying to find a place that's open past, wait, what time is it right now? 6:54, so it's still pretty early, so I might get lucky, and especially because it's a weekday. We shall see. Still pretty nasty outside, and as much as I want to stick around for another round, the truth is this New England IPA has served me well after all my other rounds, so maybe what I should do is just call it a night soon, find myself a nice coffee shop, and get my way home so I can just relax and enjoy myself on the next few days. Oh, forgot how loud it could get over here, but I'll try to just relax and enjoy myself the next few days before I have to go back to work into the office. It is what it is. I guess all things must pass, all fun things must come to an end. As much as I like what I do for a living, the truth is, I'm also very, lively on the road, on the streets of Montreal with a cup of coffee in hand, or a beer in hand if I'm sitting in the bar, but you already know that. Nevertheless, it's been a fun little trip, and I'm sure we'll be able to do this again. But until then, thanks for watching this latest edition of the Wanayuki Cheese Cafe. So if you like what you see, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button below. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoy my wanders, my stories, all the discoveries around the city, and of course my drinking that comes along with it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, leave in the comment section, like places I should check out in the city, or maybe something I could do at home. Whatever the case, tell me, I'll incorporate it. But until then, take care, see you next time, and hope you have a good summer/fall, depending on when this episode drops. Gotta do one more for the road, everybody.